for enjoying coming live with us.
Exactly. Today we want to talk all about cravings.
Yikes.
And whether or not that is a problem for you that's keeping you from losing weight. Because how many times have we all had the best intentions and then a craving comes along and boom, we're just down for the count, right? Like that's happened to every one of us. I know. Like 100% of people have had cravings. Wasn't there a statistic we used to use about that?
Well, I'm going to say it's 99% of us have cravings that we don't know how to handle. We don't know how to deal with cravings. We don't know how to, I'm going to say addiction, okay? We say cravings because we all have cravings. Everyone has a craving. Most women love chocolate. Most women have chocolate cravings. And I'm going to say more than the chocolate, it's probably the sugar craving. Mm-hmm. Sugar is just so highly addictive that who doesn't have a sugar craving unless they're off of sugar?
Yeah. But then it's interesting because like we live in this world where certain people that you will follow or certain professionals will say that there is no such thing as an addiction to sugar. Like, which is, in our opinion, is totally crazy.
Yeah.
Because
I don't believe it.
No, I don't either. And I mean, we're not professionals. We can't diagnose an addiction, but...
And nor do we want to.
No, exactly.
But you know in yourself how you are with sugar or whether you have other cravings. Casey and I both love salt. Okay, I guess she got that from me.
Yeah.
Salt is more our craving than sugar. And you might go, you're so lucky. Well, not really. Salt craving can be just as bad as sugar.
Because half the time in the stuff that we like that's salty, there's sugar in it anyway.
That's right. But like a bag of chips has a lot of salt. It's a lot of sodium. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful with salt, just like sugar. Only like salt, your body needs salt. I'm going to say your body needs some, I don't want to say sugar, I'm going to say fructose, because we need...
well, we could even say it needs complex carbohydrates.
Yeah, that's a better way to say it. We need complex carbohydrates, and we do need some carbohydrates because our brain needs carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So hello to all of you. Hi, Elaine, Susan, Michelle. We're Michelle's soundtrack at the gym right now. Well, we better be pumping it up so you've got the energy going.
Woohoo!
Hi, Miranda. Elaine says, I feel sugar was made to be addicting, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so highly processed. That's the thing. Like if you go and have an apple, how many apples in a row can you eat? Not that many. It's very different than a chocolate bar or chocolate or donuts or cookies. You know, you can probably eat 12 cookies. Maybe it's 13 for the, what do they call that?
The baker's dozen.
The baker's dozen. But you can't eat 12 apples in a row.
No, like
it just
who wants to do that, right?
Well,
we don't.
You just couldn't.
Yeah.
No one would.
No, that's so true. Hello, Lynn. Welcome. And thank you, Elaine. She says, hit the thumbs up, everybody.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, so, today we've got a couple different things we want to talk about, kind of all related to cravings and like how to deal with them. Because I do think back when we used to run a webinar, we had a statistic in there that said 100% of women have experienced cravings.
Yeah, 100%.
And, like, there's truth. Like, who in the world have you ever met that says they've never had a craving? Like, we all do. Every one of us. Whether it's for salt, for sweet, for...
So put in the chat right now, what is your craving? What do you crave? Because we want to see what your cravings are. Ours, I'm going to say, are salty potato chips, or what's another one?
Like popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn with salt. Salted crackers.
Yeah, mostly chips for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something else about that, and I forget.
But tell us in the chat right now what your craving is. We want to see what your thought that goes into your head, what you're craving. Because we just read another statistic that says sugar is the first taste that babies have. And I'm going to say that's pretty astounding.
Well, and also that it does actually, how we all say that we feel so good after we eat sugar, or it gives us that high. It's true.
It does,
because it does release neurochemicals in our brains when we eat sugar, endorphins that make us feel good. But the thing is, they only make us feel good for a very short time.
And there's other things that we can do to make us feel good. Like
Yeah.
exercise gives those endorphins too.
It does, yeah, exactly. So today we want to talk about some different strategies to help cut your cravings. We also want to talk a little bit about intuitive eating and body positivity and freedom with food and what all that means, especially for us as believers, as Christian women, because, you know, what works for the world doesn't necessarily work for us as believers, right? We're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. And
Well
so we can take some really good principles from many different places, but we have to make sure that they line up with what the Bible says. And
We need that biblical wisdom for our weight loss journey. We
Yeah.
can't just take from the world.
Yeah.
'Cause it's going to fail.
yeah, well, and if you look at intuitive eating and the body positivity movement, it is failing people because it's not built on biblical principles.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that first and come back to the cravings.
Sure.
As people write down what their cravings are.
Yeah.
Body or intuitive eating. What even is it? Do you even know what intuitive eating is? Do you know what your body wants? Like, what would be your explanation of intuitive eating?
Letting your body tell you what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat.
Yeah, whether it's too much, if your body's telling you to eat more, you eat it.
Yeah.
That's what intuitive eating is,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, no, the Bible says the exact opposite of that. We're supposed to use and do
Self-control.
self-control and use and do everything in moderation. If you have already eaten your fair share and your body's telling you, oh, eat some more because it's okay to eat more. No, because then that's going into sin. It's going into gluttony. So how is that good? We know there's some good things about it.
Yeah, because I think the whole basis of the intuitive eating movement came about to break some of the fad diet culture that exists where, you know, we've gone and labeled all these foods as bad or evil, and like foods are just foods, right? I mean, there's good foods, there's bad foods, there's foods that harm us, there's foods that help us. But like at the end of the day, eating one Oreo cookie doesn't make you an evil person.
No.
Right?
No.
And so it's trying to break some of those stigmas, or saying that a banana is bad because of fad diet culture, or, you know, I mean, we've put so many different labels and things on food over the years through fad diet culture. And I think intuitive eating is trying to get us back to having a healthier relationship with food, which is a really good thing.
It is, because I'm going to take the example of a banana. Most of you know I owned a gym and I facilitated so many weight loss classes. And I myself, because of the gym I was in, it was a franchise. And so what I did is I said, don't eat too many bananas. Don't eat bananas. Don't eat that because it's too many carbs. And you know, now I go, oh my goodness, that was so wrong. And I was fed those lies. And so the intuitive eating, if it helps us to undo those lies, like even today, I still have to talk to myself about bananas because it's up here. Don't eat bananas. It's like 50 carbs in a banana, or it's got this in it. And then I have to say, no, Ruth, a banana is good for you. You eat it because you need it.
Yeah.
This is good fuel for your body. It's got potassium. It's a complex carbohydrate. Does it have some sugar? Yeah, it has some fructose that God made.
Yeah. The banana one honestly just gets me every time, especially when we hear about all these people who their doctors or whoever or their nutritionists have told them never to eat a banana, maybe because they're like type 2 diabetic. But they don't tell them to cut out all the other processed junk and sugar. They tell them to stop eating real whole foods, but they don't say cut out the sugar. They don't say, you know, cut out the processed junk. They don't say watch how much sugar you're having. They say don't eat a banana. Like, it honestly makes me crazy in my head because
Okay,
it's
this
like
is our little rant for today.
the banana is not the problem.
No,
because it's the same thing with the apples. How many bananas could you go eat in a row? 15? I don't think so. But the intuitive eating movement tells us to go eat an entire pack of Oreo cookies if that's what our body tells us.
Or when you go through the checkout line and you need a sugar high, grab the chocolate bar because that's healthier than the banana.
Like,
No,
we're
it's
so
not.
off the rails with some stuff, it just makes me wild. So anyways,
Okay.
yeah, enough of that.
That's a rant.
Back to the intuitive eating movement.
Yeah.
So it does have some really, really good things where like it's trying to help us unlearn some of the weird things that we have in our heads about fad diet culture. And some of the, like some people are so rigid and restrictive about what they eat, but then they go binge. And that's that's not helpful, right? If you say never, never, never eat this, and then you go binge on it and you go crazy and you eat a whole pack of Oreo cookies, like we're using that example, then like something's not working in that system.
And I just want to say a disclaimer here about type 2 diabetes. If you're pre-diabetic or you have type 2 diabetes and your doctor has told you not to eat a banana,
yeah,
it's about how much sugar you're already taking into your body, because we know that you have to cut out sugars. But if you've had 2 slices of bread, that's a lot of sugar that turns to sugar in your body when you eat it. So your doctor might say, don't eat the banana then if you're having the sandwich, because he's really meaning don't have too much sugar.
Yeah. But, we also want to say, we're not doctors, we're not professionals, we're not trying to replace their advice, but what we are saying is sometimes we have to question the medical or professional advice that we get, and maybe it's time for a second opinion.
Yeah.
And we don't have to take all of the information that we receive at face value. We're allowed to question sometimes, and even question your doctor and say, why is it that I'm not supposed to eat the banana? You don't have to be rude or confrontational. Genuinely ask the question.
That's right.
Right? And say, is the banana, why not the banana? Should I be cutting sugar out from other places?
Or some people can't have too much potassium because they have too much potassium in their body. That could be a reason your doctor might be saying, don't have a banana. That's a totally different reason.
Exactly. So, but ask the questions, right? I did a video a while back, a live, about being your own detective. Be your own detective, right? Figure out, bananas are not good for my body. I don't feel that great. They don't work well in my digestive system. So I don't eat a lot of bananas, but it's not because
of the carbs
or the sugar or the whatever. It's because I know my body does not handle bananas very well.
But you eat apples. We eat fruit. So fruit sugar is called fructose. It's very different than the white sugar, the white death, as society calls it. That's not our term either. We do call it the white death, but it's not us who came up with that name. Sugar, processed sugar, is called that because it's so highly addictive.
Mm-hmm. So back to the intuitive eating movement. Okay, so I think the goal of, if you were to look at the history of how the intuitive eating movement came to be, I think it's founded on trying to help people find freedom with food, which is an awesome thing.
Yeah, we all want freedom with food.
Yes, but it's been twisted up. It's had too much worldly stuff added to it that does not follow biblical principles. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is freedom with food? And it probably means something a little bit different to each one of us, but I think at the heart of it, it's not obsessing about food.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I like that definition a lot. Not obsessing about food, because if you're a perpetual dieter, then you are obsessing about food.
Yeah.
Can't have this. Oh, I can't have that. Oh, I can only have, we've done the cabbage soup diet so many times, oh, I can only have that one day is bananas.
No, I was just going to say, you can have bananas on that one, though.
Have as many bananas as you want today. Or just eat that soup day after day after day after day after day. And it's pretty soon you just want to throw up because you're so tired of the soup.
Yeah.
But, we don't want to obsess about food. And fad diets make us obsess about food. Mm-hmm. Whereas living a healthy lifestyle, we learn to let go of the obsession by surrendering the journey every day. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And all of a sudden one day you think, wow, I'm not obsessing about food anymore.
Yeah. And it's a really amazing place to be. And, I shared yesterday that I'm really not in the zone right now. I think it's something that ebbs and flows, right? Having freedom with food. And then we go back into phases where we're struggling.
Yeah.
And then we go back into phases again where we have this, we've let it go. We're not obsessed. And then we go back to another phase where we're kind of obsessed again, right? And so I think we have to ask ourselves, what is freedom with food and what is it not? And I think one thing we've talked lots about in the past is in our heads, I think we think freedom with food is a free-for-all. It means that we can eat whatever we want, whenever we want, and however much we want, and that's the intuitive eating movement.
And we know people, and we've talked to people who have done the who do intuitive eating and they've gained weight.
Yeah. Oh, lots of them. And even lots of the accounts are like, just have the expectation that you're going to gain a whole pile of weight
Yeah.
while you're figuring this out. And it's like,
no.
Yeah, it just gets mixed up, right? It's kind of another fad diet in its own way.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
It's trying to not be that, but it's become that. And so I think when we think about freedom with food and we think about it just being a free-for-all, we have to remember, like for us as Christian women, what is freedom? We have freedom through Christ. And everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial.
You got it.
And it's because, finally, right? And it's because we have boundaries to live within. And that's what the Bible teaches us is, like we always say, it's like our blueprint for best living. It gives us guidelines. It gives us boundaries for how to live our best life. And I think that's what we have to learn how to see freedom with food as, is like finding those guidelines, finding those boundaries to live within so that we know, okay, yeah, I can have a cookie, but 1 or 2 is enough. I can have a slice of pizza, but 1 slice is enough. And to know what those boundaries are for the sake of the health of our bodies, because our verse for today is, did you look it up?
No, whatever you do.
Yeah, I can say it, but I don't know the reference again, which is always my problem. Whatever you do, whether you eat or you drink, do it all to the glory of God. So with the intuitive eating movement, eating a whole bin full of Oreo cookies or a whole box full or a whole package, that I'm going to say that's not to the glory of God, because that's about overeating and overindulging, and we don't want to do that. And so freedom with food would tell us, like, everything is permissible, as Christians, I should say, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. So finding freedom with food is asking yourself that question: is this beneficial for me right now? And sometimes the answer is going to be yes, it is beneficial for me to have the piece of pizza because it allows me to live. It allows me to
have freedom with food.
Have freedom
it allows
with food.
you to experience joy in living. And that is what we're supposed to do. And the scripture is Colossians 3:17. And whatever you do in word or deed, okay, so it's our words and our actions, and actions are eating. Do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him in everything that we do.
I think that's another different verse that almost says exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because the one I'm thinking of actually says whether you eat or drink.
Okay, I'll look that one up. Yeah, there is another one.
Yeah, but that's another really good one. So that's intuitive eating. Body positivity kind of seems to go right along with that. And again, there's some great things about the body positivity movement, but it's gone so far off the rails the other way, where now we're trying to say that being 300 pounds overweight is totally fine and it's totally healthy, and you're supposed to just like flaunt everything you've got all over the place. Like, that's not biblical at all either, right? The part of it that is great is learning to love who God has created us to be, despite what the scale says, despite what society might tell us, and claiming who we are in Christ, but like not to, again, be unhealthy, not to, like, if you think about that, a lot of what's going on with the body positivity movement is not to the honor and glory of God.
That's right. And here it is, 1 Corinthians 10:31. They're both very similar.
Yeah.
But this one actually says eat or drink. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Yeah. So body positivity, and intuitive eating, there are definitely some good things about it, but we have to ask ourselves when it's going outside of the boundary for best living, out of the Bible, out of God's boundaries for us. He has the best blueprint for living for us. So we can take some of the good and incorporate it into our life, like we can eat the banana, okay? Or whatever it is for you. But make sure you're not taking it and going, oh, I'm just going to do this because I know it's good for my body. You don't want to be overindulging. You don't want to have that free-for-all. When you go to the buffet, you don't want to say, I can eat everything I want and as much as I want, because no, you can't. You're not going to feel good. Remember, it's that verse where don't eat too much honey. It's going to make you sick. It's the same with intuitive eating. If you do what your body says, because your body's going to get more and more cravings the more sugar you eat. So you're going to want to eat more and more and more, and your body's going to keep going for more and more and more.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't make sense.
So, which kind of leads us back into sugar and cravings and
But we better read some comments here.
yeah, we were really behind on that. Okay. Okay, so
Thanks for commenting. Thanks for being here.
okay, so mostly sweet sugar of any form. Crave sweets, but have been good about it lately.
Way to go.
Chips, ice cream, but chips. Lynn, you're with us. Chips.
Yeah, chips.
Been eating fruit instead of sugary treats. That's awesome.
Way to
Elaine.
go.
Faye says I crave savory as salty foods over sugar. Yeah, you're with us too. Marinda, sweets are my cravings, chocolate, and to be honest, chips too. Yeah,
Yeah, well, they go well together, right?
Yeah, that sweet and salty that's an even better combination.
I remember when
right?
I was in high school, oh boy, you know, I'm going to talk about a bar that I loved. It was a Cuban lunch bar or something like that, and it had peanuts and chocolate. That with a bag of salt and vinegar chips was my friend and I's lunch. How awful is that, right? But we were in gymnastics, and maybe we needed the sugar high. I don't know, but we would
Probably not.
No, we didn't. We didn't need it, but it was sure tasty, and then we'd go and work it off on doing gymnastics. So wow,
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, Michelle says, thanks for talking about all this. Thanks for addressing this from a biblical worldview. The body positivity movement breaks my heart because it is generally incredibly unhealthy. It is so incredibly unhealthy. And, you know, some of the influencers who are like at the top of the body positivity movement, I saw an article one day of how many of them have passed away.
Oh, it's awful.
And it's like they think that to be body positive now, when they're on that platform and have a following about that, it's like they have to get bigger and bigger and bigger, like physically bigger, in order to like keep showing people that body positivity doesn't matter about your size. And it's like, at what point does our health matter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, anyways, yeah. So Michelle, thanks for that comment. And Elaine says, that's wonderful, Ruth. I think this is about owning the gym. I wish my parents were healthy like that. I wasn't brought up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hello, Jane. Welcome. She loves how much she says she loves the banana top. Intermittent fasting is helping. I'm done with the can't have this, can't have that. Yes, keeping our minds busy helps with not overeating.
Yes.
And Lynn says, eat just until satisfied. That's right.
We also have to eat foods that are satiating. You know, if we're only eating foods without fat, like that whole movement about low fat, we're not satiated. So we eat more and more of the junk to try and get that satiation. So make sure you're having a bit of healthy fat. Like an avocado is such a good healthy fat. Extra virgin olive oil is a good healthy fat.
Fish.
Fish, exactly. But make sure you're having some of those things that satiate your body, because that makes a difference.
Yeah. Lynn says, I meant to say that we should only eat until we're satisfied. We will be able to eat again when we're hungry.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's a big awareness thing.
Yeah.
Like, we eat as though we're never going to eat again.
I know.
And it's like, no, we have another meal. We can eat when we're hungry. We've got lots of food in our house, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We go berserk on that.
Especially when it's our favorite food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm never going to get this again. No, we can have it again.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like little children and have to be told.
Yeah. She says it takes away the urge to overeat. Yes, it really does. And Elaine had fish last night. Awesome.
Nice.
Michelle says those influencers are dying. That should also influence their followers to want to be healthy and stop following unhealthy influencers.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I know. It's
very sad.
It is. But again, I think it started from a good place.
Yeah.
Of wanting to like break, I mean, I grew up in the age where it was thin was idolized, right? Like I grew up in the era of before social media where like every magazine cover you saw, every ad you saw was like anorexic thin.
Yeah. And that is very unhealthy, that image.
Yeah. And so now we've gone, it's like I so often talk about, like the pendulum just always swings so far. And in our world, we don't know how to stay in middle ground.
That's right.
Right? And so it was way over here in this like anorexic thin, and that was what everybody wanted to be. And who can be that, right? Like 1% of the population has a body type like that, probably even less than that, right? Like most people are not built like that. And the ones that are trying to live that way are unhealthy that way, starving themselves. And then now we've swung this way where now it's like, any size is awesome. Well, that's not true either. And we can love ourselves no matter what size we are. We can love who God created us to be no matter what size we are. but we still have a responsibility as believers to take good care of the bodies that God has given us.
I love the word responsibility, because we have to take ownership for our body. This is the body God gave us. We have to take responsibility, ownership for this body. And when you were saying that, like the pendulum, we need to stay in the middle. We have a whole video on staying within the white lines.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we're balanced, we're driving between the lines. And yesterday, the word of the day was drive, but that's a good analogy. It's driving within the lines, stay in the white lines, stay in the zone. Veering off this way, veering off, you know, you can think about being leftist or going to the right. We don't want to be there. We want to be in the middle. Stay in the middle ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Because too much of anything or too little of anything isn't healthy.
Yeah. Well, too little of a few things is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But I
Too
get
little
your
of
point.
something. Yeah. Stay within the boundaries is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Jennifer says, I have sugar cravings so bad. Being a Christian, I beat myself up so bad for giving in all the time. This is not self-control. I need to get over the hurdle, craving sugar every single day.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How do we get over sugar cravings?
Before we talk about that, though, I just want to say, Jennifer, apply some grace to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? We have talked so many times about two things I'm thinking in particular. One, we talk about the ABCs of healthy living, which is awareness, belief, and consistency. But we have added the ABCGs of healthy living because we have to apply grace to ourselves.
So give yourself some grace right now.
So secondly, another like little, I don't know if it's called an acronym because it's not a word, but thing that we've talked quite a bit about over the years is accept it, forgive, surrender, and move forward. And that's kind of like a little 4-step system for you to follow, because we have to accept where we're at, right? We have to acknowledge and accept where we are, right? And Jennifer, you're saying this is where I am, right?
Yeah.
You have already acknowledged and accepted that, okay?
That's the first step, and that's awesome.
Yeah. And now you have to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And you might have to ask for forgiveness too. Whatever forgiveness means in your situation. Sometimes it's about forgiving ourselves because we just beat ourselves up constantly like crazy. Then we have to surrender the journey. Like as Christian women, we have to say, God, I can only do this because your power is made perfect in my weakness. So help me in my weakness. And then we have to take the first step moving forward, which leads us into like, let's talk about some strategies. How do we move forward?
Yeah. I'm going to say, like, there's a couple of ways to look at addiction or obsession with food or sugar. Sugar is the addiction we're talking about here. Some people have to just go cold turkey and they have to just cut it all out. Now, we don't have the sugar addiction, so we don't cut it out. But we know that if you can't stop, it's better not to have any. If you take a bite of a cookie and you need to eat the whole bag of cookies, don't take the bite.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just have to cut it all out to get rid of that sugar addiction and go cold turkey. Other people, you have to know what works for your body. Other people, it works if you start slowly and say you take 4 tablespoons of sugar in your coffee. Well, go to 3 today. Tomorrow, go to 2. The next day, go to 1, or maybe even take a couple of days.
Yeah,
so that
to adjust.
Your taste will adjust. And you can say, oh no, you know, it's never going to work. Yes, it will work. I used to drink a lot of regular milk lattes. I love coffee and I love black coffee. But lattes, I used to drink lattes because if you don't know, we used to own a coffee shop. And so we love coffee. I used to always have a couple of lattes a day. And people would order these alternative milk lattes, and I'd go, oh, how can they drink that? I'm never going to do that. I would never drink an almond milk latte. Never
Joke's
say
on
never.
you.
Never say never. I worked with another, he was a doctor, but he says, you know, I needed to go off of dairy and I needed to go to almond milk because I was getting a lot of leg cramps, a lot of Charlie horses in my legs. Almost every night I would get them. And it's painful. If you have Charlie horses, you know what that's like. You wake up and you could just scream because it's so much pain. So I thought to myself, well, here's me never saying never. I said I was never going to do this, but gradually I did. And you know what? I can't stand the taste of dairy milk now. Isn't that, eating my
Hilarious.
own words or putting my foot in my mouth or whatever you want to say about it? But it's like, yes, you can change and you can change your tastes. It does take some time, but if you know it's for your health, you're going to do it just for the sake of your health. You can stomach, I'm going to say, the taste of something you don't like for a little while if it's going to help you, if it's beneficial for your body. So gradually, I started drinking almond milk lattes. The first time I had it, I didn't enjoy it. The second time I had it, I didn't enjoy it. The third time I had it, I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't dislike it as much. Okay? So it takes time and it takes giving yourself some grace, but it takes feeling uncomfortable and not really enjoying it and not really liking it and going, oh, I wish I was drinking that regular latte, but doing it anyway for the sake of your health.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Elaine says the grace has worked for me a lot lately. She switched to fruit instead of sweets and it's worked.
Yes, it will work.
Yeah.
Awesome, Elaine.
And Miranda says, I am still struggling with stop eating when I'm satisfied. Grew up with the idea that it's bad manners not to eat all my food. I do get better with small portions though. Yeah.
And it's better to take a small portion because if you've had a small portion and it's not your whole allotted portion for weight loss, then you can have some more.
And then Jennifer says, thank you. Christy from Life Unbinged always says that none is better than one. I don't know how to moderate sugar. Yeah, and I actually had talked about her a couple times in this challenge because I love her temptation plan, right? Stop, pray, and walk away. And, we teach a little bit different stuff than she does, but I think ultimately she's trying to teach people how to have freedom with food through food boundaries, through like living without certain things.
Yeah.
And we're trying to teach kind of the same thing, freedom with food, living with using biblical wisdom to apply to our healthy life.
Yeah.
And so like Jennifer, you might be the type of person that, if not for always, but for a time at least, you have to go, I can't be around this. I can't have it here. And I think one of the big things, I don't know your situation, Jennifer, if you have a family or if you're single or if you have a spouse or a partner or roommates, I think the biggest issue that we do for ourselves is we have it in our proximity.
That's right.
Right? Like we don't buy junk food for it to sit in our cupboard. We buy it to eat it. And
that's the honest truth.
Yeah. And so, it might start by you saying, I'm not going to buy it at the grocery store.
And that's going to be a challenge in itself. If you're used to going down that aisle.
Yeah.
You put it in your buggy, even if you say, I'm not going to have it all today, I'm not going to have it all tomorrow, it's for the weekend, la, 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 but then all of a sudden, boom, you got that craving and there you go.
So maybe this time, instead of going into the grocery store, maybe you're going to do a mobile order and pick it up at I don't know where you live or how it works where you live, but I know here, like at any of our major grocery stores, you can order online and just drive up and you pick up the stuff. And I actually don't even know if there's a charge for it. It might be $2. And so like maybe that's your first step is going, today I'm going to order the stuff online because I know that I don't have to walk past it.
Unless you can walk past it.
Right.
But if you know you can't, then that's an alternative.
Yeah. Or if it's that every time you drive by a certain restaurant drive-through, you can't stop yourself, take a different route.
It's okay to drive a different way.
Yeah. We've talked so many times about like putting wisdom in place over willpower because our willpower fades. Our willpower wanes. It's not strong enough to get us through. So how do we put wisdom in place for ourselves ahead of time so that when we come to a point of craving, we're not staring the temptation in the face.
Yeah.
Because it's way easier to walk away from or to like remove a temptation when it's not directly in front of us, right? Like if you're craving chocolate, but you don't have any chocolate in your house, well, you have a lot more steps to take to go get the chocolate than if it's in your cupboard.
That's right.
Right? You have to actually act in order to continue down that road versus if it's right there. All you have to do is walk to the cupboard.
So I just want to say, are you if you feel that you're addicted to sugar, do you enjoy fruit? And does fruit satisfy the craving? Because just like I had to change from dairy milk to almond milk, which we really love almond milk because it has no sugar. Milk, regular dairy milk, has lactose, and that is a sugar. So that's one good reason to switch to almond milk, because almond milk actually has more calcium and it has no sugar. But if you are just addicted to the white sugar or the processed sugar, and you still enjoy fruit, here is a good thing for you to do. Freeze some little grapes. And if you freeze them and you're having that real craving for sugar, pop a frozen grape into your mouth and suck on it. Don't chew it. It's frozen, so it's hard to chew. It's going to give you that brain freeze. But if you just suck on a frozen grape, that is going to actually give you enough little sugar for a while. Maybe you need to do that a couple times a day just to get through the actual getting rid of the processed junk, the processed sugar out of your everyday eating.
Okay, so she says, first, before we go back to Jennifer's comment, Lynn says, Ruth and Casey, do you buy chips?
We do sometimes, because we're not in weight loss mode right now. We're not trying to lose weight because we're maintaining. So we live the 80-20 rule. So yes, sometimes we do, but we make sure, like, we look at the ingredients on the bags of chips. Okay, so we don't have them very often, but we do have them.
Well, and I'm in this is a whole different topic, but I have small kids. I have a 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. And I'm in this position of, like, I don't want to never let them have the stuff, because then I think what happens is that people go, like, I know people growing up who were never allowed to have this and they were never allowed to have that. And then when they grow up, they like go off the rails with it, because it's like, now they get to make their own choice, right? And that restriction caused them to go down, like swing the pendulum, right?
And gain a bunch of weight because of it.
Right. And so I don't want that for my kids. I want them to learn how to live life, including food, with moderation, right?
And self-control.
We can have some chips in the house, but we're going to have our bowl of chips, and then we're going to be done, and we're going to have an apple if we're still hungry.
That's right.
And so, so yes, we do have stuff like that. Not always, but
we do
sometimes we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jennifer says, my 85-year-old dad and I live together. He wants sweets all the time. We constantly have sweets in the house. He doesn't have diabetes, is at a healthy weight, and no high blood pressure, so he doesn't understand.
Well, that's a very different scenario that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So
I wonder, Jennifer, how do you feel about, like, if we kind of put you on the spot a little bit, and let's try and come up with a plan for you, given your circumstances. Yeah, a strategy for you. If you're game for that, just type a yes in the chat or something for us, because I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to.
And I also want to say, Jennifer, do you chew gum?
Yeah.
Because sometimes gum chewing is, it's got that 1 gram of sugar, or you can buy I don't know what there is. There's no sugar gum. I'm sure there is. I don't chew gum, but I know chewing gum helps a lot of people just because they're chewing. And it helps for...
And it has that flavor, right?
Yeah, it has a flavor, so it helps eliminate the craving as bad anyway.
Yeah. Miranda says, I could not stand the taste of cottage cheese. Decided to give it a try with the 10-day diet, 10-day plan months ago, and now I love it. That's awesome.
Way to go, Miranda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our taste buds do change. Like, you can say you don't like it, but after you've eaten clean, I'm going to say eating clean for a 10-day challenge, your taste buds change in 10 days.
Yeah, they do. Okay, and Jennifer says, I love fruit, but I'm allergic to berries, melons, bananas, and avocados. It makes me sad that I can't eat any of those foods, but she loves grapes and apples, and she's going to try the frozen grapes.
Yeah, try the frozen grapes. That has saved me multiple times.
Yeah.
I use that a lot. The other thing I used to do, if you make some healthy Greek yogurt, add a little bit of whatever into it, honey, because, well, maybe you don't want to be having any honey as well, but if you're okay with a little bit of honey, freeze some yogurt, and that's a really healthy treat as well.
Yeah. Okay, Miranda says, I do enjoy fruit. I don't think it always satisfies my sweet craving. If I'm honest. Yeah, and I get that, Miranda, because it sometimes doesn't do it for me either. But Elaine says, once I don't eat sweets long enough, I stop craving it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and Jennifer says, I appreciate the help. Yes, please. I don't mean to monopolize the whole live today. I'm just so desperate and sad. I chew extra sugar-free gum.
Okay.
So I think the good thing, Jennifer, is that you're not alone. And us helping create a plan for you is going to help a lot of other people who watch, because their circumstances might be a little bit different than you. But sometimes I think, just like I was listening to something completely unrelated this morning. I was listening to a podcast about retirement saving and planning. Okay, so totally different topic. But I wrote down something that the guy said that is so applicable to like everything in our lives. He said, when we have a model or a system, we can turn intention into reality. Because it's so easy to say, we want to do this, we want to do that. But if we don't have a model to follow or a system to follow, then we don't know how to do it. And so
we fall down.
Yeah. So, you know, for anybody else listening, your circumstances might be a little bit different, but be your own detective. Figure out your own model or your own system, and then take the steps to do it. And I think that's really why we have our 10-day WeighDown plan, because it's a system for you to put into place to turn the intention into reality.
Okay, so I just want to say, let's start with you're living with an 85-year-old father. Okay, so what kind of sweets does he like to have? Is it cakes? Is it cookies? Is it something that you're making, or is it something that you're buying? Is it something that you can freeze, or is it something that has to stay out on the counter? I think we need to know that first.
Yeah, and does he shop for himself?
Or
do you shop for him?
Do you bring it to him? Like, is he capable of going and getting it himself?
Yeah, and is he open to having a conversation about, like, if you were really honest with him and said, look, Dad, I need some help. Are you willing to walk this journey with me so that I can reclaim my weight and my health?
And I'm going to say at 85, he's probably not going to want to do that. I think about my own father.
Yeah.
At 85, you just want to eat what you want to eat. And you're not really worried about your health at 85. My father wasn't. And I'm thinking that generation doesn't really think like that. So maybe your father's different. My father just ate what was provided for him because he didn't make anything himself.
Yeah.
He lived in a senior's home. So I'm assuming that he's relying on you for your food, for his food.
Okay, she says he loves Outshine fruit bars, Oreos, candy, and all kinds of snack cakes. We've had a lot of talks. He says he understands, but I need to have willpower and just not eat it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a hard comment to stomach. And that, I think, I know his intention is probably good in saying that to you, but I think a comment like that probably makes us feel guilty, like we're not enough because we don't have enough willpower to just say no.
That's right.
And so I think...
so we need to come up with some strategies for you, because that isn't going to change.
Right.
Does he have a cupboard where he goes and gets the food himself? Like, could you have one cupboard for him, and you could tell him when he wants it, he has to go get it, because you're not going to handle that.
Yeah. And are you cooking the meals in the home, like for breakfast, lunch, dinner? And is he fussy about those types of meals?
Yeah.
So let us know. And Elaine says, while you're replying there, Jennifer, Elaine says, no such thing as taking over the chat to Jennifer. We're here to get and give help. You're good because you're helping when you put in your input. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So Jennifer says, he doesn't drive anymore. I'm the one who goes and gets it. He gets angry when I have not bought any sweets for him. He has always been into exercise and moderation of food.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So he's into moderation, so he isn't overindulging. He's having a little bit. So I'm going to say, I guess you can't blame him if he's pretty healthy, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing moderation, and he's still eating other healthy food. So he's getting the nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals that he needs. So if you can, have one cupboard donated for his stuff so that you don't have to handle it. Like, yes, you have to handle it in the store, and that's hard enough. But if you can buy the groceries, stick it in the back of your car so that you can't grab it, and have a piece on the way home, that is a little bit of out of sight. Put it in the trunk of your car or in the back of your car so that you can't reach it. Put it into his drawer right away, and don't handle it again once it's in the house. Does that work? Is that something that would work for you? The other thing is to, once it's there and he's going for the food, can you get out of the house or out of the room or in a different place in the house, go for a walk when he's having that junk?
Yeah. Okay, she says, let me rephrase that. He could go a whole day of just eating sweets. He only eats pinto beans and cornbread once a day.
Oh.
Okay, so you've got some big time challenges. Is it just the two of you living there? And are you currently making different food for yourself to eat throughout the day than just the pinto beans and cornbread? Or are you kind of just following suit along with what he eats? And how much, like resource wise, do you have the resources to go buy different food than what he's eating? Because I think that's also important for us to know. Yeah, because like you're not in an easy situation, Jennifer. And so the fact that you are reaching out for help just shows that, you know, I mean, we got to give you a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And I also just want to say too, I know you said earlier talking about Christy from Life Unbinged, like I think she lives in a home where they have all of the things that she doesn't eat. And her temptation plan is stop, pray, and walk away. And so like, we just want you to know, not just from Christy, but like it is possible. Is it going to be hard? Yeah, but it is possible for you to do this.
And the longer you stay away from those processed foods, the less cravings you will have for them. That is a given. We know that when we eat those processed things, they cause our cravings. And one of the big things that causes our cravings is sugar. The more you eat of it, the more you crave it.
Yeah.
Another one is maltodextrin. That's a big long word, but it's a preservative that is put into so many foods and it actually causes your cravings. So read the labels. Read labels.
Yeah. He had a hip replacement, she says, and can't walk like he used to and is on a walker. He's not able to do things like he did. It's just him and I. My mom passed 3 years ago and he won't let me cook for him.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so he won't let you cook for him. So you're doing your own cooking for your own self.
Yeah.
So you kind of have two different lives. This part of the fridge is his, this part of the fridge is yours. So he gets his own food. Is that correct?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. So if he has his own stash, let's put it like that, even if it's in a bag by his chair, could you do that? So that you don't have to, once it's in there, you don't have to look at it or deal with it again. When it's gone, he'll tell you that he needs more.
And I think one of the things we found really helpful, especially for people who are, you know, quite addicted to sugar and processed junk, is you've got to kind of snap your body and your system out of it, right? Because I think it's harder to just like have less the next day, or like, you know, if you say today I'm going to have less, that's harder than just going like today I'm not having any. And that's why we find a smoothie day can be really helpful, because it kind of forces you to like just jolt out of it, right? And then the next day after that, after the smoothie day, yeah, you still have those cravings because your body hasn't gone long enough without having that stuff. But it's easier to, after you've had a day like that where you kind of jolted your system out of it, now it's easier to carry forward with healthier habits. And so that might be a good strategy for you too, is to like, it's going to be a hard day, but once you do it, and this is the thing about doing a smoothie day, when you complete a smoothie day, you go like, wow, I did that. I can do hard things.
And it's so important for your self-esteem.
Yes.
It's so important for your confidence. Your confidence level is huge in a weight loss program. And today's word is confidence. You can do it. You can do hard things. With God in the journey, it is possible. That's why we specify that so many times. We say it over and over. It is possible. We do believe in you. We know you can do it. We know we reap the rewards of weight loss when we put the right foods into our body. We know that when we live God's way with the wisdom from the Bible, with his GPS for our lives, with his blueprint for living, we can do it. It's do a smoothie day. We really encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
And then freeze some grapes. Like when your dad, if you're sitting with him and he's going for his junk, go for some grapes.
Or walk away.
Yeah, walk away.
Get out of the room.
But I was going to say, or go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like walk around the block really quickly, because exercise or do something, like do some exercise, because that will release endorphins into your body, which are those feel good hormones, which is the same hormones that sugar releases in your body. You can do it a different way.
Yeah.
It's maybe a harder way, but it's a way that works.
It's harder in the moment. It's not harder long term.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I don't know did I read this one? Or just in my head. I'm doing my own cooking. He's still able to prepare his own meals. I'm going to designate a space that's just for his sweets. He currently keeps them all over the kitchen counters.
Yeah, that's what you got to eliminate.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and so she says, okay, that's just her and Elaine talking a little bit back and forth. She says, I'm hoping in a few weeks I can afford your program. I need it so bad.
Okay, well, that's awesome, Jennifer. We'll be praying for you. I mean, this community can be praying for you. We need to pray for each other. We're a community.
So I think a plan going forward for you, Jennifer, that we would suggest is getting his stuff out of sight, whether that's just in a cupboard, whether it's in his bedroom, wherever it is, it's out of sight. And do a smoothie day. And then the day after the smoothie day, don't go back to the sugar, right? Yeah. Have a plan for what you're going to eat the day after your smoothie day, right? Tell yourself you're going to have like an egg with some vegetables or like an omelet or something the next day for breakfast.
Or have apples or some grapes and freeze the grapes. Or we also suggest Laura bars. Laura bars have quite a bit of sugar. It's like 16 to 19 grams of sugar. And we say you should only have between 25 and 30 grams of sugar per day. And that should be good sugar, like honey or pure maple syrup or fruit. Laura bars, you can buy them. Well, they're quite expensive. We buy them at Costco, but there's lots of different flavors, but there's like 3 or 4 ingredients in the ones that we buy. And the sugar in them is dates. So it's not the white death.
Yeah, exactly. Because it has fiber with it and it has all the other stuff with it too. So yeah, get the stuff out of sight, do a smoothie day, and then make a plan. Make a plan ahead of time for what you're going to eat. So you have the right ingredients, so that you when we have a plan, it's like that old saying, right? If you're not aiming at anything, you're sure to hit it, right? Have a plan.
The other thing is to write down a Bible verse that speaks to your heart about this. Like a lot of women use, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And write that on little sticky notes. Like we have sticky notes right here. Write them on sticky notes and post it around your house. In fact, we say do it 7 times. 7 times around your house, in your bathroom, on your mirror, on your fridge, on your stove, on your cupboards, on your table.
In your wallet.
In your Bible.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And when you're getting that craving, read that verse and meditate on the verse, because you can do all things. And that includes getting rid of the sugar craving.
Exactly. That is how you spell it, Jennifer. Lara, Laura bars.
Yeah.
We really like those. I think the other thing in the same podcast I was listening to earlier this morning that they talked about that's so good is the win is in the work, not in the outcome. And that's just a little bit of a different way of saying what we always say. We have to focus on the process, not the outcome. But the win in this journey, in our health journey, in a weight loss journey, the win is in the work.
That's right.
Not in the outcome.
It's in the doing. And we need to find joy while we're doing it. Like while you're doing this, Jennifer, don't think, I have to do this. Oh, this is so awful. This is such drudgery. Don't think that. That's a wrong way to think. Think that I get to do this. I am able to do it. I am healthy enough to do this. With God in the journey, I can do it. I'm going to find joy in my journey.
I get to love myself enough to take good care of this body that God gave me.
Yeah. And so it's a different way of thinking. So enjoy what your Father can enjoy for himself. Be happy for him that he can enjoy it. And be happy for you in what you're going to do in your journey.
Well, and just know, I'm not going to speak to his health, but you said he's pretty healthy. But no matter who you are, if all you're eating is pinto beans and cornbread and junk food, that's not healthy for your body. And so that's no judgment to him. He's 85 and right, like that's not a judgment statement, but for you to acknowledge that like health is about more than just what our physical bodies look like, right?
That's
Like
right.
health is what's going on inside. This journey is about like the state of our heart and surrendering it to God. And so she says, 1 Corinthians 10:13 is the verse she tries to remember when she's craving. Is that the no temptation has seized you except what is common to man, that one? And then she says, yes, I get to do it. I honestly want to be well and lose weight so God can use me for his kingdom work.
Awesome.
Amen, Jennifer.
Amen. And that's really what we all want to do. Right?
Yeah. And the more we can keep that, our reason, our why at the forefront of our mind, like the bigger the why, the easier the how.
Yeah. And no temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. Amen. Wow. Let's all type that in the chat right now. God is faithful and we can do it. God is faithful. That's such a good verse. Wow.
It really is. So
I think that's about it.
Yeah,
for today.
I think so.
So we hope that this has helped all of you in thinking about strategies for your own weight loss journey, because this applies across the board. It applies to you and I, it applies to you, it applies to Jennifer. Okay, so that's a great way to go out today and know that we can do hard things. If Jennifer has this difficult thing ahead of her, then you might think, well, my journey's easy, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it blesses all of us. It blesses each one of us to know that we can do hard things. And with God in the journey, it is possible. Invite God to the table. Don't forget that. Surrender the journey every day. Sometimes you have to do it multiple times a day. But don't forget to invite him to the table, because that'll change the whole way you look at food.
Yeah, exactly. And Jennifer, I just want to encourage you to like think about how God is going to mold you through this journey for his purposes, for his kingdom. And so again, I think when we can think about those things, the bigger the why, the easier the how. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, she also says her dad now has AFib and congestive heart failure, so he isn't as healthy as he used to be. Yeah.
Okay.
And lots of God is faithful. And she says, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you taking the time to help me. Thank you all in this group. God bless you all. Thank you, Jennifer. And thanks for being here and letting us use you as I'm going to say guinea pig, but it's not really a guinea pig. It's just as an example. So, yeah.
Okay, I think that's about all for today. We've talked about lots of stuff today, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same station. So today, for the rest of the day, treat your body like a temple.
Not a trash can. See you tomorrow.